I'm Sean Halloran. I'm the plant propagator at the Arnold Arboretum in Boston. And our featured presenter, who I'm really excited to introduce today, is Mark Wessel. So again, welcome everybody to this IPPS micro meeting. These are, quick talks and tours where members share their operations, the work that they're doing, and all the fun stuff that that we do at IPPS. So as questions come up during Mark's talk, please drop them in the Q&A box down below. So I'm just going to quickly introduce Mark and then let him get underway. So Mark was born and raised on a small tobacco farm and vegetable farm in southwestern Ohio. During college, he started picking up summer gardening jobs around Cincinnati, and this turned into a 25-year career in estate gardening. Mark changed gears in 2014 and started working for Gardens Alive and their related mail order gardening brands. His roles within Gardens Alive have included quality assurance manager for Bare Root, research farm manager, and then now his current role, the Director of Horticulture Research. So his current role includes overseeing the research farm, meeting with plant breeders, writing copy for plant categories, assisting merchants with plant selection, and evaluating plant seedlings and selections from in-house and external breeding programs. In Mark's spare time, he likes to garden, travel, hike, camp, botanize, bird watch, cook for his wife and friends, and drink wine. Mark's a member of the Eastern Region, IPPS, the North American Rock Garden Society, Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association, Perennial Plant Association, and the North American Strawberry Growers Association. He's also president of the Midwest Apple Foundation and a former board member of the North American Fruit Explorers. So Mark has a great presentation in store for us today. I'm excited for everybody to watch it. So take it away, Mark.
All right, well, let me figure this out. Okay, I need to be enabled. I'm disabled currently.
All right, we will get that going. There you go, Mark. You should be good to go.
All right, now I have to put it on the slideshow, which is there. Okay, how's that?
Great.
All right, folks. First, I added a new background. Everybody has their fake tropical background or the beach scene. So I thought, well, I'm going to bring in a real plant, and it's kind of like infringing on my territory. So, but it's much better look than that blank wall before. So, like Sean said, I am the Director of Horticulture Research at Gardens Alive. And as I drop titles, you don't drop duties, so you just gain more. So the more titles I get, the more duties. And it's been a fun job. I started in 2014, and it was just an excellent transition out of estate gardening, which just didn't fully tap my abilities, and so this was quite a challenge. And today I'm going to talk about, the title is slightly deceiving. I will talk about connecting plants with people, but we're also going to kind of go through the whole process of where we find new plants, where we get plants to sell. And I can't see my notes, but just storage, shipping, packing, and all that. The one thing I'm not going to touch on too much is the catalog and e-commerce for various reasons, but I'll hit that stuff at the end. First, I want to tell you why I joined IPPS, and this was why. when IPPS was in Louisville, I had friends from Cincinnati who went, and they told me about it and how it was going to be in the Brandywine Valley. I think it was the following year, and that's like gardener's Mecca, and I hadn't been anywhere there, so I thought it would be an ideal opportunity to join a great organization and see all these great gardens. But that was just only one part of it, really. This was at the Morton Arboretum the next day. It's really about the people I've met. It's really the most useful group I've ever joined. And I belong to a lot of great groups, but there's been so many people that have been very helpful, especially this transition to my job with Gardens Alive, because there's like an expert, or there's just so much knowledge that I've drawn upon, and just so many good people I've become friends with. So it's been a great organization to me. A little bit about who Gardens Alive is. So Gardens Alive started as a brand in our owner's garage back in around 1983. He sold plants and organic inputs for the gardener at a time when gardeners couldn't get biological stuff. He came from the cataloging business, I believe. I don't know too much about that background, but so he started in his garage and slowly built it up. And most of what he acquired was in distress. So that's how he got most of these other companies. So Gardens Alive is a brand, but it's also the umbrella for all our companies, which is kind of confusing. I have to explain this all the time. So like Gurney's and Gardens Alive are our edible brands, and these are print catalogs for the most part, except Gardens Alive is not a print catalog anymore. Brex and K. Van Borgendine are bulbs mostly and perennials. Brex happens to be the largest importer of bulbs from Holland in the country. And Michigan Bulb and Spring Hill. Spring Hill is sort of the high-end ornamental catalog, and Michigan Bulbs services the ornamental aspect as well. And then there's Brex Gifts that I'm really not involved with in these two dry goods. This is a puzzle piece, a puzzle company. Our owner, there's these highs and lows in the horticulture business. So he branched out in order to fill those lows, so we could maintain employees year round. In addition to all the mail order, we have Weeks Roses, which I spend a fair amount of time there in Isley Nursery, and I visit there occasionally. And just this is Isley. I just thought I'd throw in this. If any of you've been there, Isley. It's the gardens around the building are like per square inch, just one of the best arboretums. It's just really impressive. And then to the west, I think it is, they have a beautiful view of Mount Hood. So sourcing new plants. We have many avenues for this, like a lot of folks. This is Andre. Andre is the merchant now for Spring Hill, and he is a hydrangea fanatic. I don't know that there's anybody bigger fanatic than Andre. Maybe Tim Wood knows a whole lot about hydrangeas, but Andre's just a fanatic. So this was a field out in Oregon with all the, they can get all these nice pink colors. You bring a lot of these out to the Midwest, it's a struggle. One source of material is our internal breeding programs. And it's all about exclusives. We all, everybody wants that patented plant that's all theirs. It's really a pain in the rear end a lot of times, but that's just what you make your money on, and that's what we can market. So Keith Zary, who is my boss, he's a long time he was a long time rose breeder for Jackson and Perkins, and really he was breeder in the heyday of the rose industry. Rose industry is kind of tapered off somewhat. And this is out at our Weeks facility. This is a production block of some crepe myrtles that Keith bred for just durability. He was breeding for powdery mildew soon after, you know, that trait was discovered. And these are just good, durable, Midwestern, very hardy crepe myrtles. I mean, they will burn to the ground like a lot of them. It's just they're just very strong. Some that we've trialed a lot of crepe myrtles, and these are really by far the rock solid of the bunch. Not as fancy as some, but a good batch of crepe myrtles. Peter Perderis, he is our main ornamental breeder. Keith doesn't do any breeding. He's actually semi-retired and living in Montana, Missoula, Montana. And Peter, who was out at the research farm in Tip City for a while, we've moved his operation to the Isley facility, which that's his neck of the woods and just a more hospitable place for breeding. And he brought along his Buddleia collection. But once Peter gets settled out there, he's going to have a lot of resources and really start producing a lot of new plants. He's really a brilliant mind in that department. Another avenue for exclusive plants is Christian Bedard, our rose breeder out at Weeks. This is a selection. These are all selections that he's building up. This isn't just seedlings. It's just amazing. He's an incredibly meticulous breeder, really science-based and meticulous. And our other in-house breeder kind of hits the private breeder part of it all. Jeff Bloodworth was a muscadine grape breeder on his own, and he was trying to introduce seedlessness into muscadines. Now, I know that's not our neck of the woods. This is a southeastern thing, and this getting seedlessness into muscadines was thought to be nearly impossible, but he found an avenue, and he crossed it. More or less, he used vinifera and got in seedlessness. And his first grape, called razzmatazz, was more vinifera, but it was like a little champagne grape, and it continuously flowered. It's a really cool, once it starts fruiting, it fruits till frost. It's real productive, tasty vine. It's not hardy in our area. And now it's very exciting. There's a whole lot of excitement behind these muscadines. And razzmatazz, the Nature Right company, is growing them for clamshell sales. So hopefully, they're testing them in the Southeast and a few other areas. And I hope to see them in our grocery stores eventually. And then, we utilize all the university breeders. Mostly it's for fruit, but, we work with Thomas Molnar. He has the Scarlet Fire, and he has other stuff coming. And there's a few other things in the nut world that he has we like. And then the University of Arkansas is another one. And this is just happens to be a blackberry we're going to be introducing. One way we get exclusives is these breeders, especially fruit breeders, they have all these selections. They're breeding for the commercial world. Well, they'll have a flaw, something that just won't get it in the commercial world. This happens to be a softer berry, but it's a delicious blackberry. It's a primocane, so you'll get 2 crops off of it. I'm really excited about this. I comment, if anybody knows John Clark, he's just a funny guy and fun to hang out with. And I'm like, damn, that's a big ass berry. And he said that, yeah, and it tastes damn good. And I suggested that to our copywriters, but I don't know that's going to make him a copy. Other avenues of plants are the breeder reps. Like Pretty Parasol here. I love this echinacea. It's out of Holland. The guy grows, I don't know the breeder, but our breeder rep, Concept Plants, Peter Van Ryzen, introduced us to it. The guy grows for kind of garden type cone flowers, sturdy, tall, really is pretty. But when it's, next to this fiery meadow mama, it's a little pale, but this is really, everybody loves this sucker when they see it. And this is from Plants Nouveau. Excuse me. Sourcing plants we sell. So we have a lot of internal sourcing. We do some seed. We have a pretty large greenhouse facility. We do seed and vegetative propagation. We get a lot of, we have a good bit of fruit tree production out at Weeks Roses. They can grow a fruit tree in one season, whereas it takes like Tennessee or other places a year and a half to grow that same tree. But there are issues out at Weeks. This is the southern Central Valley, incredibly hot, especially lately, and water is a huge issue. And it's actually too hot for some stuff. We have a big scion orchard. We have like a 15-acre fruit orchard there just to produce budwood for all our fruit tree production. And it's tough out there, man. But if everything's right, things grow great. We get some conifers and maples from Isley, and trees and shrubs from Gardens Alive Farm, which is up in Michigan. And it was one of the parcels from the Zelenka operation that we briefly have. Externally, we get them all the common sources, tissue culture labs. We use a ton of IPPS member nurseries. We have vendors from the USA and around the world. It's kind of interesting. We even get stuff like from India and all over the place. And it includes bulbs, corms, seedlings, plugs, liners, bare roots, trees and shrubs, just everything. We get it everywhere. Oops. And there's one of our wonderful Eastern Region members, Night Hollow. We give them all the tough stuff. They kind of grouse about it a little, but they end up trying and work on it. One unique thing about Gardens Alive, I don't know for sure, but there's not many seed companies and catalog companies that actually have a research farm, a trialing location. Many of them just buy what they hear about or see in trials elsewhere and resell. Now, we don't trial everything. That would be impossible, but we sure trial a lot. Up until recently, we had a half-acre vegetable trial garden that's moved off site, and we contract our former trial manager to do that. But we still do a lot of ornamentals and a lot of fruit trials. Like this was an Agastache trial along with the hedging cotinus trial. And these are seedlings of the Midwest Apple Improvement Association, which we're a member of. We're trying to get an edible red-fleshed apple. Most red-fleshed apples are very tart. It's hard to finish a whole one. And these are coming along. And whether it's not every year, a red-fleshed apple will be slightly different. So we're really looking for a consistent red flesh that's kind of sweet. We trial uses too here. So we had a big pumpkin pie, a squash pie, I guess you'd say, trial at our R&D roundup one year. That was fun. So we're always trialing. In addition to plant trials, we do a fair bit of biological type sprays. And that's, I'm really encouraging that because I have to use them on vegetables. One thing I miss about the vegetable garden being gone is that was kind of a benefit. I call it a health benefit to have all those vegetables there to eat. So now with these sprays, I can justify having vegetables back somewhat. We're really trying to educate the customer. And first of all, it's good to educate your customer and have them have success. And we want to cut down, hopefully cut down on the calls and questions about different plants. So for instance, almost every plant product we sell on the page we sell it on, we show the customer what it should look like when it arrives. And then there's, we give them the typical information about how to grow it and spacing and all that stuff. Sometimes, there's little nuggets that are wrong, and it happens to everybody. So but we try to get the most accurate information, filter through it, and provide it to our customers. A few years ago, we started this, that we call it the Dormant Initiative. So we are trying to, at the end of the season, put as many plants in the cooler freezer as possible. So they'll be wrapped in the fall, like that pot is, and packed in boxes and then put in the freezer. And we did a whole lot of tests leading up. We're still testing, and we do these freezer tests and line them out at the research farm to see what survives this. I mean, we only go down to 28 in the freezer, so it's not terribly cold, but some things don't survive that. There are plants that don't want to be chilled like that. But one thing, we want the customer to get a dormant plant so it would, acclimate, it would acclimate and root in and just perform better, and the customer would get to see it from the very beginning, as opposed to a plant out of the greenhouse that has already been through part of its life cycle. Not only that, when you have the plants out of the greenhouse, it's just hard to maintain them on the line. If they get stuck on the line too long, they keep growing. And it's just, there's so many issues that we're hoping this helps to alleviate. So far, it's been a pretty good success, but some things just, when it's just a twig, it's just not a good look for the customer. Okay, and we get in plants from all over. This is actually our Michigan farm, but we can't grow, like I said, we can't grow all our darn plants. So we have a ton of them shipped in and grow them on, turn them over pretty quick. Sometimes we have to repot. Now we get asparagus. This is just a drop in a bucket. It's like total around 12,000 crowns of asparagus. And a good portion of my talk here will be in the dormant realm, because that's just what I have most pictures of and feel comfortable at. And it was just easier to obtain these pictures. Storing dormant is really tricky. The picture on the right is our main freezer in Lewisburg. We have facilities kind of spread out throughout Ohio. They're fairly close to each other, but still separate facilities. In Lewisburg is the dormant bare root area. And the freezer on the right, we had a real scare this winter. The compressor went down. Something happened and the coolers were warming up. It was a real panic because there's just millions of dollars of stuff in here, and we were getting ready. We had semis that were on call to move all this stuff to other freezers, and it would have been it would have taken 4 days to move everything out of here in like 40 semis or something crazy like that. But tragedy was averted. Somebody put some duct tape on something and it all worked good. And we store a whole lot of bare root trees, fruit trees, and everything, which are problematic. It's fine for a bare root tree grower to store them. They're only storing them until they can ship them to their, their orchard growers or the growers like us. Whereas we store this into June, and that's asking a lot of a tree. So you have to get humidity and you have to get everything right. And we've made great strides on storing bare root. So since this was my first job, I'm kind of proud of the fact that I was able to, offset some big losses. Just my general horticulture knowledge kicked in, and we were able to store a few things differently, and it just, the losses were much less in previous years. I was only there 6 months, so I didn't have a huge impact, but each of my 2 successors, they have made a great impacts as well. And bare root is just going so much smoother. There's one genus in bare root that really gave us problems, and it's prunus. They just do not like to be stored cold and wet. The whole tree and trunk will just break down and fungus oozes out of it, and it's total loss sometimes. Once May hits, man, they're questionable. But we went from heavy humidity on them all the time to just watering in the root zone, and then we even refined that, and we have hardly any returns on prunus anymore. One thing that helps here, things always get put in the wrong cooler, but they don't happen. It doesn't happen as much because we work with the vendor, and they put the temperature on the labels. Most of them do. They're most willing to work with us. And then when we work a product, it has the temperature and humidity, and that gives the forklift driver, he knows where to put it then for sure. It's hot during the receiving season. It's crazy over in Lewisburg. I mean, forklifts running everywhere with product, and it's inevitable something will happen. Like you'll get calla lilies or caladiums in a freezer, and that's really not too good for them. But it doesn't happen that much anymore. There's a lot of problems. Mold is one of them in storage. And once this is swamp milkweed, this big batch of roots on it, and they just hold moisture. And once these come out on the pick line, and if they sit there too long, they just start molding. We now dip them prior to it, and we keep them colder. And we try. So we do I don't thoroughly understand it, but the people who make the orders, they do these batches, and it says, oh, you need to get 500 of these swamp milkweeds, and they come out and they process them or do whatever they have to do. And that's for the orders that are down the line. And well, sometimes it doesn't, something went wrong. I don't know what it is, but they don't get used, and they sit there and they mold. So this is just another thing we're really refining. One other problem I've seen in QA is, here's our box, and the vendor thought he was doing us a nice favor sending us that big tree, but a customer really wouldn't like that chopped off as a stub. So what we do is we work really close with our vendors about tree grading and heights, and we'll even pay extra for them to keep them at the proper height. Did I miss one? Oh yeah, so in the bare root, they pick in the cooler, and then they wheel them they wheel them out into the line, and that guy's packing. These guys are on the left are doing the final packing, throwing in the moist paper and then wrapping the plastic around it. And then the guy on the right, they're sending them into the FedEx truck. So this is Lewisburg. At Tip City, we have, you know, another operation of fulfillment, and down in Fairfield, Ohio, closer to Cincinnati, we have another operation. That's our huge fulfillment spot that, you know, it's FedEx truck after FedEx truck, just packages flying in there and trucks pulling out. I believe I'm speeding through this, but that's all right. So about the connection. So here's the classic connection of how we connect with the customers. And catalog sales have always been the way, but that avenue is dropping. This whole making this thing, this PowerPoint presentation for you guys, it's very educational because I got to talk to the print guys. We basically have a advertising agency within our company. We have these two guys that do all the legwork. They buy all the paper and for the printers, and, you know, work deals, and they just communicate with everybody about printing, and then everybody on our end. They're really a key. It's incredible the work they do. But somebody asked about how do we actually, you know, target our customers or something, and you know, we have lists. We target customers, known customers, from how much they buy, what they buy, how frequently they buy. It's all a whole bunch of parameters. So I said catalog sales, Russ told me that we're at the peak of catalogs being put out in around 2012, 2013, at least for our company. And that was a staggering figure. Around 60 million catalogs went out. It's just unbelievable. And we're down to like 40 million now. But e-commerce, of course, has kicked in. And this is where I can't divulge too many of our specific things we do, because that team has worked really hard. It's really amazing, all the people that work on this end of it, and all the analytics, and it's really most people in our company have no idea what it takes, but it is a huge team of people working on this. But so mostly, long story short, it's paid searches or paid advertisements on e-commerce. That's the long short of that. Okay, now I couldn't see my notes, and I probably glossed over a whole lot, but this is almost the end. There's a little film of kind of the fulfillment process and the customer getting the product. In this picture, one thing I like to travel, and one thing I like to do if I'm going to a place for work is find a place nearby to visit. And this was in April of 19. California was having an incredible bloom, and I happened to be going to our Weeks facility, so I diverted a little and went to this place, and it was just stunning, mind-blowing. It was really cool. So Sean, if you could take it from there.
Absolutely. Going to stop your share. And all right. All right.
All right, that couple things about that video. I had shot a lot of none of that, but the process of the shrink wrapper. I had a bunch of videos of the whole process, and I thought. Then I saw this corporate overview that one of my colleagues sent me. I thought, oh, that'll be just way easier than me piecing this thing together. It wouldn't have been quite the same, but or had that inspirational music. But the shrink wrapper was one of the maintenance guys. They repurposed this piece of machinery they found somewhere to shrink wrap these things, and it was quite amazing. They put this together, but that the heat, of course, had to be adjusted. It took a long time to what's the right amount of heat, because they fried a lot of plants in testing this. But those plants, the shelf life, I've seen those tomatoes living 3 weeks afterwards with no water. It's really quite something. It's a lot of film, and they're looking into organic biodegradable films. But between that and the way they package them, things arrive in way better condition.
You're talking about a tomato plant? Sorry, just
tomato plant. Yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah. No, we don't ship tomatoes, fruit.
Right. All right, so we have a few questions. That was awesome. I mean, it sounds like what you do is so broad in terms of our industry. So I think that appeals to a lot of people.
It's really amazing. It's a huge company, and we do a ton. Even to me, it's amazing. All the moving parts to do this. It's just not some mom and pop organization anymore out of a garage.
So Tanya is asking, can you speak to how to navigate ag inspections going into different states with FedEx shipments?
Oh, yeah. We have one person dedicated to that. All the restrictions. I mean, I don't know the specifics about it, and thankfully I never had to do it. But of course, there's some things you just can't get in. California, Oregon, and all those over there is really the hardest. But there are restrictions there. It takes a lot of research and constantly updating.
Right. As
but there are federal people that you can talk to. Yeah, it's a ongoing job.
You mentioned biologicals. I think specifically when you're talking about vegetables, let's just say, what are the top 5 things you're excited about, or what top 5 things that you're working with?
Well, right now, this is the most exciting time ever in that realm, because scientists are searching the world, every nook and cranny, for anything that can help them do something else, enzymes, biologicals, whatever. But one thing I'm just now testing that I want to work really bad, it's called Lifeguard. It's out of Certus. It's a plant stimulator. Basically, it stimulates the plant's defenses and helps them fend off pests and diseases. And we're just in the first year of that trial. They're pretty high on it, and it has the possibility of boosting nutrients for nutrients in the fruit or vegetable that you're growing. I mean, I still even like, well, let's see, what other biologicals do we use? There's all kinds of BTs. BTs just aren't, relegated to killing caterpillars. There's even a BT that is for beetles, which beetles and true bugs are really hard to deal with in agriculture, and they're on the expensive end. This beetle juice product, but that's a cool one. I'm looking forward to experimenting with more. But even, I mean, it's spinosad. It's been around a while, but that's really good on some stuff. And I really like some of the barrier technology that's coming out, like the Sil Matrix. It's like potassium silicate or something like that. And it just, you spray it on the plant and it kind of just keeps the insects busy. It's kind of like those kale and clay products. It just keeps the insect busy and irritated, so it can't eat your plant. So those are a few of them.
You mentioned some really great, I'm excited about the Seedless Muscadines. What was the name of the cultivar you had mentioned?
The first one is called Razzmatazz. It's not a true muscadine. It has a little muscadine flavor, but that was the gateway to the next release, which was called Oh My, and it's a bronze muscadine, and it's really good. And he has a whole bunch in the stable that are, will be released over the years. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of people putting in a lot of acres of them and hoping to get a higher dollar.
I can imagine. Any other cultivars you're really excited about that are maybe soon to be on the market or anything like that?
Well,
that you can talk about, I guess.
Yeah. I can talk about one vaguely that I'm really excited about. It's a nectarine. And when you look at this nectarine, you're walking up to the tree, you think it's an orange tree. So first of all, it looks crazy. And then it's just a pure yellowish orange. There's no red blush on it or anything. And then it's not a melting flesh. It's not one of those that juice gets all over the place. It's chewy. So it's this interesting texture. So that, and it has a great flavor. It's just a whole new fruit eating experience.
Wow. Yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that for sure.
Yeah. It's
all right. Well, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate your talk and that awesome video. And thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Well, I appreciate your help in all this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Win is saying thanks, Mark.
Win. Yeah, he's a good guy.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in July with the next micro meeting, and then Chicagoland for IPPS conference and all that info is forthcoming. Obviously, check the website, and yeah, thanks for attending, everyone.